All right, let's dive right into something pretty wild today. We're looking at a framework from our source material called the dual caustic universe. And get this, it tries to map the structure of reality itself using chaos theory and the text of the Quran. It's a fascinating and really unusual model, so let's get into it. So, everything here really kicks off with one big and, pretty provocative question.
I mean, think about that for a second. What if the verses in a holy book weren't just a story, but were actually tracing a path, a trajectory laid out by a super precise mathematical object that, according to this model, governs everything? That is the wild claim we are exploring today.
To even begin to understand this, you have to meet the mathematical heart of the whole thing. It's a concept from chaos theory, and it's called the Rössler Attractor. Okay, so what is this thing? Just imagine a point moving through 3D space. It starts spiraling outwards, right? It gets farther and farther away from the center, and you think it's just going to fly off into infinity. But then, something amazing happens. Its path gets pulled up and folded over, sending it right back to where it started. It's this beautiful dance of spiraling out and then folding back in. That's the Rössler system in a nutshell.
Now don't worry, you don't need to solve these equations, but look at them. These are the surprisingly simple, totally deterministic rules that create that incredibly complex dance we just talked about. The key takeaway here is that you can have perfect order on one level that generates what looks like total chaos on another.
So you might be asking, why this attractor? There are tons of these strange attractors in chaos theory. Well, according to the source, the choice is extremely specific, and it all comes down to one crucial feature.
And this visual just makes it so clear. On the left, you've got the famous Lorenz attractor. You've probably seen it before. It looks like a butterfly with two symmetrical wings. The path can jump from one wing to the other. But look at the Rössler attractor on the right. It only has one wing. It's asymmetrical. And for this entire model, that asymmetry is everything.
So that single wing isn't just a stylistic choice. The model proposes that this is the mathematical signature of a core principle in this framework, something called the sound field, which is described as this fundamental, creative force that only moves in one direction. The math and the concept are seen as a perfect one-to-one match. And here's where we get the map. It's pretty direct. That spiral moving outward, that represents a diverging path. The super important fold that keeps the whole thing from flying apart is mapped to a specific verse, 1912, which is interpreted as the reader's activation. The path back is a contraction. And the different heights on the z-axis, well, that's the key to how one single location can actually have two different meanings.
The source really drives this point home. That fold is the only thing that keeps the system stable. Without it, the trajectory is just lost. And in this model, that stabilizing fold is identified directly with the command in the Qur'ānic verse 1912, O Yahya, take the scripture with strength.
Okay, so that's the theory. That's the map. But how does it actually work with the text? Well, the source material lays out a specific chain of verses that supposedly traces one complete, closed loop on this attractor.
So here's the path. It starts in a state they call heaven, and then it moves through this specific sequence of verses from all over the Quran, and then it loops right back to the start. One complete orbit on the Rössler attractor. But if you're looking closely, you might notice something a little odd here.
Right, that's the question. Both of these verses are from the exact same story in the Quran, the story of the sleepers in the cave. So why in the world are they separated in this trajectory by a bunch of other verses? How can the same physical place show up at two different points in the cycle?
And this is where the model gets really elegant, because the answer is baked right into the geometry of the attractor. Remember, this path is three-dimensional, so it can pass over the exact same spot on the floor, the same xy coordinates, but at a different height, a different z-value. It's the same location, but on a different lap of the journey.
Check this out. This makes it so clear. Verse 18:19, which shows up early in the chain, is read as the sleepers waking up inside the cave. It's part of that outward diverging path. But verse 18:10, which comes way later, is interpreted in a totally different context. Now the cave is seen as a containment structure, like a grave. It's part of the return path, at a different height on the attractor. Same place in the book, two totally different phases in the cycle.
There's another really cool transformation here. In dynamical systems, that fold is dissipative. That's a technical term, but it basically means it loses some energy. So whatever enters the fold is a big, wide, diverging trajectory, gets squeezed, and exits as a tight, contracted one. The source calls this the fruit-to-seed transformation.
And the point is, this isn't just a nice metaphor, it's a description of a real mathematical process.
Okay, let's pull back for the big picture. What does it even mean to frame a sacred text like this? To see it as a kind of mathematical engine?
Well, according to the source, what makes this whole idea so powerful is its precision. It's not just making some vague claim about chaos. No, it maps its ideas to this one specific, well-defined mathematical object. That makes the model tight. It makes it falsifiable. And it means it's being presented not just as a cool idea, but as a fundamental engine that works at every single scale of reality. And really, this is the final claim. The idea isn't that we're forcing a scientific model onto Scripture, it's that we are discovering a shared structural grammar that was supposedly hiding in plain sight in both of them all this time, just waiting for someone to find the key.
It's a pretty profound thought. Whether you buy it or not, whether you see it as a hidden code or a fascinating coincidence, it definitely makes you wonder. If a structure this deep can be mapped here, what other patterns, in all kinds of other systems, are just sitting there, waiting to be read?